All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to completely flip how you look at something that probably drives you a little crazy. Parajumbles. We're taking sentence rearrangement, which usually feels incredibly messy and subjective, and showing you the absolute, undeniable logic hiding right beneath the surface.
Be honest for a second. How many times have you found yourself totally frustrated staring at multiple choice options and just guessing? Just picking the sequence that sort of feels natural. Well, if you're relying on your reading sense, you are falling right into a massive trap. That's exactly what test makers want you to do, because it leaves you second-guessing yourself and burning precious time. We're going to stop guessing entirely.
Look at that phrase right there, unbroken chain. This is a real game changer. Solving these parajumbles is actually an objective, math-like logical puzzle with strict, unbreakable rules. A correct sequence isn't right just because it sounds pretty, it's structurally locked together. When you start treating this like a mathematical equation rather than a creative writing exercise, you literally won't get a question wrong again.
So, here's our roadmap to get you from confused guessing to absolute mastery. We'll start with the three logical pillars, move into the DEDUCT-FT framework, solve a live puzzle together, look at some advanced patterns and traps, and finish up with the ultimate cheat sheet.
Okay, part 1, the three logical pillars. We have to establish the laws of physics for this grammatical universe first. If any of these three pillars is missing, this sequence is absolutely 100% wrong. First up is referential integrity. Basically, a pronoun like it or they simply cannot exist without a specific noun showing up earlier. Same goes for the word the. You can't say the building unless a building was already introduced. Next is flow. Time and cause and effect have to move forward, never backward. And finally, discourse cohesion. Transition words like however must link directly to the sentence right before them.
Now here's the golden rule, and it's absolutely crucial. A truly correct sequence is a locked chain of reasoning. Every single link relies entirely on the one right before it. If you've got a 5-sentence paragraph and you can just pluck sentence number 3 out and sentences 2 and 4 still perfectly connect, well, you've got the wrong order. Every single sentence has to act as a mandatory bridge.
Moving right along to section 2, the DEDUCT framework.
Now that we know the rules, let's get into the cheat code. This is a 5-step deductive framework, so you never have to read sentences over and over again. By treating this as a step-by-step elimination game, we systematically strip away wrong answers using pure logic. We detect the opener, establish pairs, deduce the closer, use transitions, and test. Let's break down how this actually works in practice.
Step 1 is all about detecting the opener. Logically, an opening sentence has 0 backward references. It can't start with a pronoun or a transition word. Take, "It was a dark night." What exactly is it? We have no idea, so it physically cannot be the opening sentence. Compare that to "a building collapsed." That introduces a topic from scratch using the word a. Finding your opener is honestly just about scanning the first word of every sentence and crossing out the ones that look backward.
Step 2, we hunt for mandatory pairs. These are two sentences glued together by pure logic. For example, if sentence 4 talks about a virus and sentence 2 says it's spread, boom, you've got an irreversible lock. Sentence 4 has to immediately precede sentence 2. You'll also see article progression. A man always comes before the man. Just finding one of these pairs is usually enough to instantly eliminate half of your multiple choice options.
For steps 3 and 4, start treating transition words like big, blinking directional arrows. A word like however isn't just flavor text. It's an arrow saying, hey, I am directly negating the specific claim right before me. Furthermore is an arrow saying, I'm adding to the previous point. If a sentence starts with, for example, the sentence immediately before it absolutely has to make a general claim that fits that exact example.
All right, let's put this into action. Section 3, solving a live puzzle.
Time for the boss fight. We've got 5 jumbled sentences here about a water purification method. Now, most people would try to read all of these together and piece together a nice-sounding story. Nope, not us. We're going to deploy our protocol and just scan the first few words of each line. Literally just looking at the first words, we can instantly axe A, C, D, and E. It's totally mechanical. Sentence A starts with however, cross it out. C starts with it, cross it out. D starts with the technique. Wait, which technique? Cross it out. E mentions one major drawback, implying drawbacks were already brought up, cross it out. That leaves B as our only independent sentence. We have our absolute starting point.
Now we map out the mandatory pairs. Sentence B gives us the new technique. C starts with it, referring right back to that technique. B to C is locked. C explains the process and D explains the result, removing contaminants. Process must precede result, so C to D is locked. Now look at A. It says, however, this method has drawbacks. That has to contrast with a positive statement, and D is the only positive statement, so D to A is locked. Finally, E gives a specific example of a drawback, following A. B, C, D, A, E. Unbroken, undeniable logic.
And here's the real magic. If this were a multiple choice question, you wouldn't even need to build the whole chain from scratch. If you logically know the sequence starts with B, you just immediately cross out any answer choice starting with A, C, D, or E. Find just one mandatory pair, like D linking to A, and delete any option where D and A are separated. You literally just let the wrong answers destroy themselves.
Let's kick things up a notch with Section 4, Advanced Patterns and Traps. Test writers love using these macro patterns to mess with your intuition, but once you know them, they give you instant mandatory pairs. Take the question-answer pattern. If one sentence ends with a question mark, the very next sentence is almost universally the answer to that specific question. Or a compare-contrast block. You have to fully describe entity 1, then fully describe entity 2 before you can use a sentence comparing them. These are like guardrails keeping your sequence perfectly aligned.
On the flip side, you've got to rigorously avoid common logical fallacies. Look at the reverse cause-effect trap on row 3. The ground was wet, it rained. I mean, sure, your brain tries to make it flow, but logically, the ground doesn't magically become wet before the rain actually falls. Or the orphaned example. You absolutely cannot throw in, for example, tigers before you've made the general claim that many animals are at risk. Don't let them trick you.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, the ultimate cheat sheet.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want you to basically memorize these rapid-fire checks. If you run the 5-second check on every puzzle you see, you will instantly slash your processing time in half. You just scan for it, they, new nouns with the, and transition words. And when you're checking pairs, run the 3-second contrast check. Is there a however? Yes. Does the sentence right before it make a claim it can actively negate? If no, that sequence is dead.
Because ultimately, you aren't testing your reading skills at all. You're actually navigating what math folks call a directed acyclic graph. Every sentence, except the very first one, throws a logical anchor backwards. Your only job is to find the solid ground where that exact anchor catches. It's mathematical, it's logical, and most importantly, it is entirely within your control.
So, now that you've got the underlying code to break any sequence, are you ever going to just guess what sounds right again? Are you going to go back to reading 5 sentences in a loop until your head spins? Or are you going to deploy the DEDUCT protocol, hunt for those mandatory pairs, and lock in the only logically possible answer? The choice is yours, but the logic is undeniable. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. Now go crush those puzzles.